If only there were people who were yelling from the rooftops over and over again about how unimaginably dangerous the Trump administration would be for a multitude of different reasons, including but not limited to Gaza, and that the Democratic Party should launch the best possible defense against that, and that they were being pathetic and weak.
President Trump, unprecedented foreign policy announcement last night at a joint...
He just gave a bunch of children Sharpies. Great. It's crazy to frame this as protecting men from women from a dude who was found liable for and got caught on camera lying about it. Dude, conservatives love doing that shit. They love harming women and then turning around and making it seem like the only way to protect women is by shitting on trans women. Anyway, let's get to this story as well. Expect Japan Airlines plane crashed earlier. How are you fine with flying? I honestly, maybe I'll die, okay, as I enter the United States of America's airspace. The only thing that'll piss me off in that process is how many of the dumbest losers will be excited at the prospect. I'm in a shit-ass mood because I'm leaving Japan and having to face the awful. I fantasize about it, not gonna lie. Yeah. See? 6 foot, 190 pounds. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, that's what keeps me alive is the spite. Having to go to USA where you're considered enemy of the state. Welcome back to the hog pen. I know. Robin Banks, thank you for the 10 gifted subs.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he proposed that the U.S. actually take over the Gaza Strip, to even open up the possibility of sending troops. The Gaza's entire population of roughly 2 million people should move elsewhere, is what he said. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has more on the president's comments and all of the fallout. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. This is a brazen proposal. President Trump claiming without authority rights to one of the most contested strips of land in the world, announcing plans to displace...
I'm going to keep it $150. This is the first and last thing I'm going to say. While this is happening, if your number one goal here is to get a dunk on what you have perceived as your true enemies, you are revealing that you do not care about the that Palestinians are subjected to. We already knew that. If you were actively telling people to shut up about a genocide, okay? But if your goal here is to be like, see, I told you Trump would be worse. Yeah, I said that shit too, okay? Many times over. 1,000,000 times over. That doesn't change the reality that Joe Biden still did this side, had all the power to end it, and refused to. Okay? All you have done in this process is basically demonstrate that you didn't give a shit when Biden was doing it, and you certainly don't give a shit when Trump is doing it either. Okay? So you've already lost the opportunity to even, quote unquote, resist Trump from a hashtag liberal perspective. Okay? You mean how they're subjected to Hamas? What? Lightweight baby safe travels? Anyway, he's also just being open about doing the same things Biden was doing quietly, except there's a lot less death actively happening. Yes, we went from genocide Joe to genocide Don. Okay? That's it. But for people that immediately run to, make it seem like they give a shit, they don't. Yeah, hope everyone's happy now that they got genocide Joe out of the office. It's like, what do you mean? Yeah, he was. What are we? Are we joking? Was he not doing it? Like all of a sudden? That's how you can tell who has a heart or not. I told you so is not fun to do when there's someone suffering and you were just right about it happening one way or another. Yeah, you're not going to hear me say I told you so, even though I did say this, because I'm not a... Okay? Same goes for my former podcast co-host. I think it was Sean the Black who said, if you got a longer compilation of you saying the N-word with a hard R than the amount of times that you've spent on defending Palestinians, then we got a problem. Maybe you don't give a fuck about them. You know what I mean? Maybe you didn't care under any leadership. You can try to present yourself as caring, but if your ambitions and your motivation simply revolves around, calling your former podcast co-host an anti-Semite and a radical terrorist over and over again, perhaps most people who do care about the issue understand that you don't. Then I won't be voting for Democrats. Now Democrats do something, go around and find out. Like, what is this, man? What is this? What is this? So you just don't give a shit. And for the record, this is not just about Gaza for me either. I've said this exact same thing about undocumented migrants. Okay? I said this exact same thing. In the aftermath of Trump's electoral victory, In the aftermath of Trump's electoral victory, Democrats were talking about how they're going to call ICE on their neighbors. That if they have any immediate family members of undocumented neighbors that they have that have voted for Trump, they're going to call ICE on their neighbors. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Then you're not an ally, you're not a friend, okay? Like, you're a bad person. You are no different than the Republicans that I hate. And the same goes for this as well. Sean's other banger. Any creator for Kamala that refused the DNC access to speak up for Palestinian liberation and fight off? Okay. Biden absolutely paved the way for Trump to continue the genocide. Yeah. And ironically enough, Trump paved the way for October 7 to happen because American foreign policy is uniparty and they only go in one direction. Okay? That's it. Right-wing Cope just did this. Just filed an ICE report against the grandma, the Indian kid Elon Musk hired because she overstayed her visa. Dark woke. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. Dark woke is just a meme for the most part. I think dark woke is when you're supposed to actually be ruthless to the individual Republicans, not like, you know, their grandparents. But dark woke is a joke anyway. That person is joking. It's still a gross joke, but whatever. I don't understand why liberals can't actually focus their angst, their animosity, their anger on shit that actually matters in terms of, you know, like people with power. Why don't they do that? Why don't they do that? Why do they focus on weak people? Why do they dunk on the people that are going to get over under the Biden administration or under the Trump administration? Okay, sure. They're going to get over worse under the Trump administration. Good. I knew that as well. I said it as well. What do you want? A cookie? You want a medal? You want a ribbon? Lock in.
You know, look, technically right now,
I don't know if you can say that.
I don't know if you can say that. I mean, I know that the amount of Palestinians in Gaza are dying today is less than it was during the Biden administration.
Some USA.
Wow. I'm sure all the liberals who really like Sam Cedar, but really despise me, will be shocked to find out that he had an identical perspective to mine. You didn't say Trump would be worse hard enough when Kamala was saying she wouldn't do anything different? Yeah, I know. Wait, what? You're joking, I hope. I hope you're not saying that like sincerely, because that is kind of what liberals are saying right now as they desperately look for the real reasons why Kamala Harris lost, which is a collection of leftists online. And not because she hugged and kissed Liz Cheney while simultaneously actively pushing out Palestinians or Arabs or Muslims from the coalition of voters. Like, genuinely, they just kept saying, we don't want your votes. We don't want your nasty ass votes. Those liberals can't attack Sam on aesthetic grounds, though, because he's very calm at all times. Yeah. And it's also difficult to call Sam anti-Semitic too. You know? He is an older Jewish man who is very calm when he describes these things and not a scary Muslim, you know? If only there were people who were yelling from the rooftops over and over again about how unimaginably dangerous the Trump administration would be for a multitude of different reasons, including but not limited to Gaza, and that the Democratic Party should launch the best possible defense against that, and that they were being pathetic and weak, not meeting the needs or the demands of the American population. Remember that tweet from Destiny a week or two from the election? Talking about how if they won it, it would be proof that they didn't need lefties like you and they should excise you from the progressive movement. Yeah. Meanwhile, he excised himself, you know, by being a alleged sex criminal.
Through to him finally.
Do I think that ultimately Trump is going to be worse than Harris? You know, Harris was also a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And I will say,
all we were
going
going against
negative
was
prognosis of what I think she would have done.
But Obama stood up to.
Idiots are calling Sam your token Jew. Sam Cedar has been doing political commentary since I was basically shitting in my diapers. What are we talking about? What? I think you're mistaking it. Yeah, it's so weird. I guess Bernie Sanders, Felix Biederman, Alex, Gabor Mate, Noam Chomsky, Norm Finkelstein, like a million different Jewish Holocaust scholars that are anti-Israel, Noah Colwin, every single person that I just mentioned here, Elon Pape, all Jewish, all anti-Zionist, okay? They just, they're all my tokens, I guess. Felix Biederman. It's just like, how do you not realize how unimaginably anti-Semitic that shit is? Did you cover Hutch's reaction? No, I don't cover Hutch's reaction to anything. Is there a new Call of Duty map out? Maybe I covered that. Considering how consistently wrong he is, why in the ever-loving would I ever cover Hutch's takes on anything political related? I already listened to enough morons be professionally wrong all the time on the Republican side. What do you want me to do? You want me to also listen to professionally wrong morons on the liberal side? I'm sorry. Has that man ever had a correct take? Maybe you should pay Michael from Pennsylvania the $500 or $1,000 that he had. I think he owes him money for that bet.
The Netanyahu with the Iran deal, like it's possible that Democrats would do it. It's not possible.
But the circumstances have to align again. Like I agree, but I just want to say, like, I think even I was saying it was worth voting for Harris over Trump, even if you said a null difference, because I think that's frankly the safest thing to credibly promise. Because I wouldn't predict any backbone from Harris on this. I don't even know if she would have secured the ceasefire, but
well, who knows? But Scott from Detroit, it shouldn't be Sam's job to make the argument that Harris would be 1% better on Gaza. The Harris campaign was unwilling to directly say, we'll be 1% better on Gaza.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It falls on them. The people that are blaming the voters on this, I mean, come on. Like, it's the same people right now, and I don't want to be too online about it, so it's a throwaway comment, but the same people that are saying, like, dunking.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe the people did not respond to harm reduction arguments. Unironically, when on this issue at least, the Democrats didn't even do harm reduction arguments. It was actually Democratic Party boosters that were fantasizing about harm reduction arguments that the Democrats weren't even making themselves. The Democrats broadly communicated that they wanted to excise Muslims, Palestinians, anyone who's anti-war from their coalition. They openly did that. Okay? Peep the date. Summoning circle, Mitch McConnell fall down the stairs. Wait, what? He's fallen down the stairs before. That's the craziest part. If Israel detested Biden slightly less and Blinken hadn't left work early every day to slather his face in shoe polish and commit musical crimes in his garage, you'd be defending the failed implementation of Bluesman's identical plan rather than pretending it didn't exist. Call me callous. But watching Trump do exactly what he promised to do and all the left is being like, no, it's so funny to me. At least there's no more Genocide Joe, right? Yeah, there isn't any Genocide Joe anymore. It's Genocide Don now. I just, like, what is the argument that, like, Donald Trump being even marginally worse, potentially down the line, then because he's going to be that way, obviously. There's no world in which Donald Trump comes across as better, right? Except for the brief moment of solace given to the Palestinians. You're so delusional, it's sad. Answer my question. Have you thought about a dress recently? Oh no, Trump is making everything better again. Aren't you happy? No men will be competing in women's sports. You're so delusional, it's sad. Brother, we moved on from this conversation, okay? We're watching your glorious king suck the penis of the Israeli leader, okay? A country that would not exist without our unlimited support. Hey, Trump supporter. Hey, Trump supporter, watch this. Look at this. I mean, Genocide Joe is a piece of shit, but let me tell you, I haven't seen him do this before. Hold on. We call this, in the industry, we call this full service, okay? It's called full service, baby. Check that shit out. You like that? Look at your daddy. Look at your daddy, dude. Look at your daddy showing respect to his own daddy. Look at that. Oh. Thank you, sir. Please be comfortable in your seat. Please. Please, sir. I hope you had a wonderful day today. Another $1 billion of weapons coming your way, sir. I came from a middle-class family. The fuck does that have to do with anything? Here's your goat, okay? How does that make you feel, you fucking cuck? You stupid cuck piece of shit. Okay? Mr. Peaceful Dove, remember? Even Bradley texted me and was like, okay, maybe Trump wasn't going to bring about peace in Israel. That's the funniest thing. Anyone that tries to fucking claim Hasan, like, you think Trump is going to be really good. You think Trump is going to be really good on, you're pro-Trump. You're pro-Trump. Okay? I've had numerous conversations, including with high-profile people who voted for Donald Trump, people who interviewed Donald Trump, where I explained my position over and over again. Now, of course, you're not going to hear that from one-sided dipshits who just have a bone to pick because they don't like that their own community considers them to be wrong on this issue. And they're so goddamn narcissistic, they can't reevaluate their position and instead just fucking lose their minds over and over again and talk about this. Bradley literally started a bet with me. Yeah. He recognizes that Donald Trump is not, following up on his promises. The American Communist Party is turning on Trump. Oh, wow. Real motion here. Bro, respond to the Hutch clip. I'm going to die, dude. I'm actually going to die. There is no way that, no, you can't be serious, right? There's no way. Aren't you canceled for revenge porn? Are you fucking stupid? Do you think I'm Destiny? What is happening right now? Dude, I can't deal with this, man. I can't fucking deal with this, dog. What is going on? Like, these people are literally too fucking stupid. Do you know how many times I've seen motherfuckers be like, Hasan was on an anti-Semitic panel talking about how Sabra hummus is mid. Do you know how many times I have seen that online? Like, these are people who have like barely functioning brains. I don't know. Like, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? I'm not gonna lie, dude. It's weird how it chilled out in chat for so long. Now it's going crazy again because there's a lot of shit libs who also don't actually have a decipherable political perspective. Okay. And they're just reacting to the whims. The clip is literally nothing. He reacts to you saying there's no evidence suggesting Kamala would be better on Palestine than Trump. That's it. And he stays quiet. It's crazy to me. At a time, it's another clip chimp version where you just finish saying Trump is unquestionably worse. Yeah, it's always the same shit, dude. Clip something in a 17-second increment. Okay. And then act like you're fake mad about the clip that you clipped personally. I'm sure there was more to it. Nah, this is the end of it. This is the entirety of the argument here. The craziest part is there'll be people that have been in here. There will be people that have been in here that have heard me unironically argue for months that Donald Trump is going to be awful. Okay? That Donald Trump is going to be awful on Gaza. I've debated people who have thought that Donald Trump is not going to be awful on Gaza. Okay? And people still go, oh, wow, Hasan surely thinks. Like, it just doesn't matter what my perspective is. You can just make it up. Like, at least when people like Ben Shapiro get yelled at, it's at least in the same sphere of what his actual opinions are on a particular issue. Okay? Mine is usually the exact opposite of what I'm saying. You know? I can't deal with this. I hate it. Probably one of the worst aspects of this industry. And then people go, Hasan is too afraid. The very same people that that keep trying to say like, oh no, Ethan doesn't have to debate Hasan. Hasan just has to watch his Hasan has to watch the clips that he compiled from Destiny's community that are like entirely out of context, oftentimes advocating for the exact opposite position that he claims I'm advocating for. Hasan is too afraid of watching those videos. I'm like, no, I'll fucking debate this person. And then they still go, nah, you have to watch the video. How are we debating whether Trump is bad on Gaza? Obviously, American politics is even way dumber than European. What a zero-brain show this is. What do you mean? Are you talking about me? We're not even debating it. I tried to watch it by watching the pop-up reaction, but it was too painful and could not believe how many people are saying you brainwashed them. Yeah. A TikToker who defended you rejected his invite to debate on a show recently. He's so scared of someone with a comparable size of audience. Oh, he wants to debate other people. He doesn't want to debate me. He wants to debate other people about me. That's weird. I'm the fucking subject matter. Just talk to me. Why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid of having a conversation? Like, the number one reason why this is a idiotic point of contention is because I have already addressed all the fucking talking points and people still go, oh, can you address them? Can you watch the video? Can you address the video? It's like, I have. I addressed it 3 months before the video ever came out, dumb fuck. Because you won't watch the vid? No, that's an idiotic reason, dude. Then it should be that you should be able to destroy me now. Okay? You should be able to destroy me even easier if I don't watch the subject matter. You could just like sit there and show all of the clips out of context directly to my face. And if you want me to explain the context of the clips, we can do that. And perhaps that might be a little too scary for you. You know, that's the funniest part about this is that like me watching the video would be worse for you overall. Yeah. He's also still actively trying to deplatform me too.
On the Dearborn voters, we're saying that the Gaza thing was a non-issue during the election. So you have no credibility. Sorry?
It's a guilty conscience. They know that all their actions say.
You watching clips of other people watching the videos only inflame that argument, to be honest. Brother, if I was afraid, why would I just simply run away? Why wouldn't I just run away from the conversation? If I was afraid of seeing the talking points or hearing the talking points, why would I come out and say, let's have a conversation? This is the stupid part that most people do not understand. That's what he's doing. He's using the video as a way to be like, oh, just watch the video, please. Just watch the video, please. This doesn't make any sense. Just say you watched it and then leave it at that. No, I'm not going to fucking lie. It's so funny because he'll complain about the clips. He'll complain about me watching his clips out of context. Ironically enough, his entire video is out of context. You know, I'm in the video. What do you mean? Watch the video. I am the video. It's real. They're DMing smaller creators to debate.
I just turned down an opportunity to go onto H3. They reached out to me because of my Elon video and they asked if I wanted to come onto the show. I said no because I have been watching recently and I can tell that Ethan is operating purely out of bad faith. It would just...
Wait, this fucking coward is demanding that random TikTokers go and debate him on the video? I'm the subject matter. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. We had a podcast. We had a podcast together. How fucking unimaginably bad faith is that? Dude, I'm sorry. This is Steven Crowder shit. How far the mighty have fallen. He is literally doing Steven Crowder. Oh my God. No, this is about the salute. Oh, it's not about the video?
Just not be a discussion. It would just be him trying to like railroad me for the video. He can just freely talk about me as he wish. I don't really care. This is going to be the last thing I say about it. I just want to move on. And
isn't the entire point of the video that you still hold these supposed opinions? So why would referencing the video even matter? Shouldn't Ethan want to expose your actual opinions on this? No, obviously the entire point is that it's fucking bad faith. Okay, you should work with one of them to Sam Cedar him? No. Ease contradictions as well. What is this?
Smart, very intelligent. Definitely not a fucking hack ass, failed ass, dumbass fucking comedian.
Bro, I've never tried to be a comedian. A failed
What? You've never tried to be a comedian? What?
comedian? What are you talking about? It's just not true, right? And I'm a comedian saying that. I'm a comedian. That's my job. I'm a comedian, right? I'm trying to make a joke. I know it looks crazy. I'm a comedian, and people are laughing. Unlike you, I'm a comedian, not a journalist, so I have a little more leeway. I'm a comedian, you know what I mean? Thank you, exactly.
All of your content is hateful. How can you go on and brag about being more humility?
I criticize people. I'm a comedian. First of all, I'm a comedian, so anything I say being considered defamation is almost like impossible. I had an idea, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I'm a comedian, you know, I'm out here, I'm in different lanes. It's not even a sore spot for me or anything, because I'm not a comedian. I've never tried to be a professional comedian.
He's not.
I'm a professional comedian. Are any of them? I'm a professional comedian. You know what I mean? I'm the last line of defense, okay? I'm a professional comedian. Do you know that? I'm a comedian. I don't know. Am I a comedian?
You're a clown.
You're a funny guy.
This clip isn't about, that's out of context. I swear you were talking about someone else. What? No, you missed the end. I don't care. I don't understand. I don't think Ethan is a stand-up comic, but yeah, isn't he a funny guy? Am I mistaken? I'm gonna do a 2-hour video of being like, Ethan Klein radicalized me. I thought he was supposed to be a funny guy for the ha-has. And then it turns out he's not. It turns out he thought he was a political commentator this whole time. What? Even if you were to join him live, he would just flood you with all these insane sources like the Saudi state propaganda or the Turkish state propaganda. Great. He's got Dan to back him up too. Dan is a very smart guy. He's well researched. You know? What are we talking about here? Dan, I believe, is a socialist, but not sure. Like,
Palestinian
anyway, let's get to the real
and turn
story.
Gaza into, quote, the Riviera of the Middle East. This morning, a stunning proposal from an American president. Donald Trump, with the Israeli prime minister by his side, declaring that the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip and calling for the permanent resettlement of roughly 2 million Palestinians.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site.
And he says he's willing to use the U.S. military to do it.
We'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs.
Benjamin Netanyahu seemingly on board with the plan.
I think it's something that could change history, and it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
The real estate mogul turned president touting the potential opportunity.
I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent.
But Trump provided no details on how he could do this or on what authority he could take over the sovereign territory. His proposal likely a violation of international law.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly.
The big question, who would live there? Trump broadly suggesting everyone is welcome, but he made it clear.
Dude, the international law is over. Okay? It's never been more over than at this moment. Joe Biden already basically destroyed it, especially important to address because he was supposed to be the reasonable adult in the room that wasn't like Donald Trump, that would renege on like previous American foreign policy decisions like Donald Trump did when he destroyed the Iran denuclearization agreement and things like that. And Donald Trump came in and was like, yeah, no, what do you mean international rule-based order? I make the rules. I give you the orders. You follow them. That's just how it's supposed to work, which in some respects is honest. It's brutally honest, right? There's honesty there. There's truth there. Okay. But it's over. It's done. Donald Trump is once again showcasing that it's super done. In many respects, I've talked to a lot of well-intentioned people out here, and their perspective on America's placement around the planet, especially in places like Japan, and this was championed by the JCP as well, this perspective was, people that are constantly in their minds living under the ever-present threat of China and Russia, right? Outside of the sphere of American influence. They were truly terrified of Vladimir Putin's actions, which is understandable. I think we here in the United States of America, even though I'm in Japan right now, don't necessarily see the threat of a despot or a tyrant or someone who is just like willing to just go, nah, I'm taking this shit. It's mine now, outside of the United States of America, right? And we're far removed. So even if we're far removed from the impact of it, so even if, let's say, the fears are unfounded because of the limitations that the Russian state has in terms of taking over the entirety of Ukraine and then possibly moving into Poland, like even if all of that is impossible given the actual limitations, okay? I think that Vladimir Putin's actions, unjustifiable actions in Ukraine, violent actions in Ukraine, have truly terrified a lot of people living under the sphere of Western influence. They are scared that this entire process can just kind of fall apart if someone just goes, nah, I'm not fucking around with this any longer. This is mine. I'm just going to violate all the norms. The only country that is able to violate those norms is the United States of America. Because when it does violate those norms, it does it through the rule-based international order to a certain degree. And while someone like myself might see the truth in that and still get frustrated endlessly, okay, this past year has shown that America, aligned with Israel, which is an extension of America, never forget, is also capable of doing Vladimir Putin shit. And I think a lot of America's allies are, on the one hand, scared that, you know, Vladimir Putin is a bad guy, but they're also now scared that Donald Trump is a bad guy in the exact same way. The collapse of the belief that America's allies have in the rule-based international order is going to lead to real consequences of diminished soft power for America. And in that process, America will no longer be the hegemonic superpower. And as I repeat over and over again, those 800 military bases will now look like 800 military occupations. Like, think about that. Europeans are terrified of Vladimir Putin for what? What's the reason? Well, because he's a madman and he has shown his proclivity for land grabs. Okay? And we're talking about new land grabs. If you already did the land grabs, if you engaged in colonialism and you still have like colonial remnants within your economic infrastructure, like, you know, maybe you have a couple West African countries that you still control the currency of or whatever, that's different. In the minds of the Europeans, they look at that in a very different way. They're like, well, that's just business as usual. That already happened in the past. But when you got a fucking dude who's going, I'm taking a piece of a country on the European continent, they're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? Hold on. But now you got Donald Trump saying he also wants a piece, you know? You got Donald Trump straight up being like, I'm taking Greenland. Fuck you gonna do about it? I'm taking Canada. What are you gonna do? I'm taking the Panama Canal. Also, I'm taking Gaza. I'm taking all of it. So this like overt, like pro-empire attitude with not even a lot of massaging of the narrative is something that I think a lot of people are understandably afraid of. Okay? It makes sense because in some ways it is very Adolf Hitler, especially considering that he also wants to do internal concentration camps for the undesirables that live on U.S. soil. Okay? For quite a long time, America has at least tried to engage in empire behavior. When America used to engage in empire behavior, they would at least like masquerade it as a positive. And we've completely dropped that notion. We're not even saying it's a positive. We're like, no, we're the bad guys and we're going to take your shit. Okay? God damn, this autofocus and the auto lighting is killing me right now. Look how dark it is. Come on, fix it. My pro-NATO mom's already saying that we EU should distance ourselves from the US. Yeah, that's it. That will be an attitude shift. That will be an understandable attitude shift because you can't say, oh, I'm just taking it. What are you going to do about it? You can't say that because people will be like, what? What do you mean you're just taking it? You have to set up NGOs. You have to set up civil society organizations. You have to destabilize the country. You have to identify and isolate a real political instability that organically exists in the country. Then you have to really hammer on that political instability and then take advantage of the real, not American pushed, real anger and resentment that people have, fuel that anger and resentment. And when organic protests, grassroots movements actually mobilize, immediately overtake those grassroots movements. Okay? Cover it endlessly in the Western press. Talk about the instability. Talk about the ruthless and brutal ways in which this foreign adversary is destroying the country. Okay? If you don't do all of that stuff and you just go, no, I just want it because they have raw minerals like that I need, or I want to put like a shit ton of military bases here because I want to fucking control trade in new trade paths that might open up as a consequence of climate change, then people are going to go, what? You know, you got to use a little bit of lube. You can't just fucking get in there. You got to open it up a little bit. Donald Trump is saying, what are you going to fucking do about it? That is the difference between in the Zizekian politics. That is the difference between neoliberal dad and authoritarian dad. Okay? Neoliberal dad makes you feel like this was your decision. Authoritarian dad says, nope, it's time out. Okay? My way or the fucking highway. You are arguing for more imperialism? Wait, what? What leads you to believe that? I was protesting in Egypt in 2011 through grassroots movements. We got duped, took less than 2 years for a coup. How is it any different from Biden and Blinken going through Israeli wars? We've reshaped the Middle East in favor of American and Israeli interests. No, it's not different. Wait, what? No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that Biden ironically came into office saying that he was going to restore global order and America at its top. And then with Israel, he literally decided to throw it all aside because Israel's clear-cut violations of all humanitarian rights, all rules, all regulations, and America's endless defense of Israel made everybody see what was going on, the truth of the matter. Okay? Donald Trump is, of course, in the most expected fashion, accelerating that process. That's why I always say American foreign policy is uniparty, but it only goes in one direction, and that is reactionary fascism. Okay? American foreign policy is uniparty. Right-wingers come in and they make things even worse. Liberals come back into power after the regular cycle because the right wing is awful, and then people get really exhausted by it. So they're like, oh, we need to change immediately. And then liberals come in, they don't actually reverse any of those decisions, and they also kind of continue the uniparty approach. That's it.
The Palestinian residents of Gaza should leave and relocate elsewhere.
There are many of them that want to do this and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in.
And what have you done? I don't know. I try to do my very best with the limited amount of power that I have and the limited amount of influence that I have. I try to use that for good, try to educate people, help them understand the situation on the ground, help them recognize that in domestic politics, who is actually responsible for the pain that they experience, where American priorities are. I've set up numerous fundraisers that have totaled more than $3 million for numerous Palestinian organizations, 8 organizations that are actively working on the ground. You know, I try my best, and it's simply not enough. Okay, it's simply not enough. Wait, what? Lemafeo, in your $1 million home, educate equals encourage people to not vote. Good job, bro. Was there ever a moment? I wonder where this chatter is coming from. I can't tell. Considering that I spent 45 minutes publicly voting on camera and have very consistently talked about the importance of voting in general, I'm going to go ahead and say that you're probably watching YouTube videos where people are telling you that that is my perspective. Yeah. On the night of the election, we also asked eligible voters who they voted for. And apparently this screenshot, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, other. Almost 80% of the community voted for Kamala Harris, understandably. And there were Trump supporters in there as well. Not every single person in this community is a Democrat, remember, especially on election night. You love taking the bait. I try to correct the record to the best of my ability because I always know that there's new people in here, and I don't want them to also be duped by outright lies. Ethan is saying you voted for Jill Stein. Prepare for that to be the new headline. That's amazing. You know what's really funny about all this shit? I'm sure there's a compilation out there of me literally ripping into Jill Stein over and over and over and over and over again. Like, there are, yeah, I call Jill Stein a grifter. I debated chatters who kept yelling at me because I wouldn't advocate to vote for Jill Stein. It's so funny that people would much rather passively consume this content and my commentary from someone who has not watched it and has only seen the clips and is using this to smear me, rather than just actually coming to the political commentator and being like, hey, I don't know what your perspective is, but
it's impossible to remember every single thing that he's done. Here, I'll give you
why you should not vote for Jill Stein, especially Donald Trump. What is this? Especially Donald Trump. Oh. Why you mustn't vote for Jill Stein and you definitely shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. That's the name of that's the title of this video. Okay, there's a fan channel that clipped it. Yeah, he's framing this Trump Gaza news around you and how it's your fault.
I feel like you can absolutely say that this is the fault of people like Hasan.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. I too look at a genocide that is occurring and think to myself, how can I make this about a person that I feel slighted by as an individual? That's what I say. And then I turn around and say, a genocide is happening. Like that's the deflection, as though that's like a real deflection and not a fucking principled stance I have. I'm done. We got to stop. We're putting a fucking ban on these idiotic Ethan clips, please. Like, it's baby shit. It's for babies. You are a baby. You are a baby. Over and over. Bro made his whole personality an r/destiny hallucination. I know. Oh, God. Hasan, if I was you, my ego would be through the roof. He's so obsessed with you. No, dude. I just want him to fucking... I want him to be well, okay? This is clearly not well. The difference between you and Ethan is that he doesn't allow dissidents on his podcast unless you pay for it, whereas your chat is open to the public. You are constantly on the defense from people who don't have to give up anything to comment on your live stream. Even if I wanted to go and try to spell some of the lies in his chat, I would be having to give money to a person. Oh my God, I'm completely in the dark right now. I have to fix this fucking situation. Hold on. I'm going to put the curtains up. It's over. It's like a joke. Liberals are so fucking spineless. Hold on.
Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth.
Hours earlier in the Oval Office, the president argued Palestinians have no choice but to leave Gaza.
It's a pure demolition site. If we could find the right piece of land or numerous pieces of land and build them some really nice places with plenty of money in the area, that's for sure, I think that would be a lot better than going back to Gaza.
Shortly after welcoming Netanyahu to the White House, Trump digging in, asked point blank if he believes Palestinians have a right to return.
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth.
And then just hours later, that shocking declaration that he envisions the U.S. taking over Gaza entirely. After 16 months of war, the devastation is massive. But even amid the destruction, since the ceasefire was announced last month, Palestinians returning to their homes. Those images, hundreds of thousands determined to get back. In Gaza this morning, Palestinians strongly rejecting Trump's proposal. This man saying, we are staying steadfast in our land here. Whoever wants to rebuild should not kick us out under the pretext of rebuilding. But the president now insists that Egypt and Jordan should take them in, an idea those countries have fiercely rejected.
Well, I think Jordan and Egypt will, I know they've spoken about it with you, and they say they're not going to accept. I say they will.
Democrats say the president's proposal is ridiculous.
What he's saying is dangerous because it will put U.S. interests in the Middle East at risk. It could put U.S. embassy personnel at risk.
Now, President Trump is making this proposal even as the U.S. has been working to secure the second phase of this ceasefire deal, which intends to bring about the release of the remaining hostages and a permanent end to fighting. Negotiations that were incredibly difficult even before President Trump made this new announcement. What comes next, George, is unclear.
Well, yeah, Mary, there's so many questions there, including this simply flies in the face of everything President Trump has said in the past about pulling back the American military from overseas commitments.
It certainly does, George. This goes against the promises that President made on the campaign trail. These are exactly the kinds of conflicts that he has tried to avoid and that the U.S. has tried to avoid in the Middle East for decades.
Inside Gaza, President Trump's idea has been met with outrage from Palestinians determined to keep their homes, even if those buildings are in ruins. Chris Livesay has more from Israel.
Since the start of this ceasefire, hundreds of thousands of Gazans have begun moving back home, or what's left of it. This president, who is called Donald Trump, comes to us with a new method to displace us from our country where we are rooted. This man says, this is our land. We will not get out of it. But rebuilding will take more than resilience. A UN assessment estimates that clearing the more than 50 million tons of rubble left behind could take 21 years. More than 1.7 million have been displaced by the ongoing war.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
Trump's proposal to resettle all of them has reignited painful memories of the Nakba, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced from their homes.
Wait, what the hell? Yo, liberal media talking about the Nakba? What the hell is going on, dude? Oh my God, is resistance liberalism back? That's crazy. That is actually crazy. That is, wow, shocking. I didn't realize that mainstream media was deeply anti-Semitic. This is CBS Mornings. Isn't this where Tony Double Cirque shit on friend of the show, Ta-Nehisi Coates? Same program, by the way. What's happening? That's crazy.
During the creation of Israel. What about infuriating the people who remember the Nakba, who talk about displacement? It's a very visceral pain for the 2 million people in Gaza.
What I think President Trump is saying here is that Gazans, you have a choice. You do not need to continue to live under a radical jihadist regime. We will.
Oh, that's what he's saying. Oh, got it. No, he's saying he's going to do mass ethnic displacement. That's what he's saying. And you love that he's saying that. Like, that's it. God damn, dude. What a crock of shit this is. Ugh.
Provide solutions for you. Does he mean that the 2 million Gazans will leave Gaza tomorrow morning? Probably not.
But despite the destruction of the Strip, most Gazans remain determined not to leave.
Both Egypt and Jordan have rejected Donald Trump's proposal, fearing, they say, for the population of Gaza as well as their own.
Here's how Hamas responded to it. Hamas official Bassem Naim says Trump announcement of a U.S. plan to seize Gaza and ruin Palestinians is a crime against humanity and a reinforcement of the law of the jungle at the international level. Okay. He said the problem of reconstruction is not in the presence of the Palestinian people on their land, but rather in the continuation of the Zionist occupation and the stifling siege of the Gaza Strip for more than 17 years with American support. Naim called for urgent regional and international action to put an end to these malicious plans. As reports emerge that Netanyahu intends to sabotage future phases of the ceasefire deal, Naim reiterated Hamas's position that it intends to abide by the terms. We demand that the mediators, especially the United States, oblige the occupation to implement the ceasefire agreement in its 3 stages without procrastination or manipulation, he said. We are committed to implementing the agreement as long as the occupation commits to it, and any manipulation in implementing the agreement may cause its collapse. How does it feel to be coming back to the Great US of A tomorrow? It feels awful, just genuinely awful. Because there are so many issues. There are so many insane issues in the United States of America. It sucks so bad. Over 1,000 people chanting, "Do your job," as Democrats speak at a rally defending U.S. aid. Environment seems to be agitated with Democrats, as with Trump/Musk's effort to seize the agencies. Yells of, "What are you going to do about it?" in response to Democrats talking about the situation.
Do your job. Do your job.
Even my insanely lived up dad is like, what the fuck are the Dems doing? Yeah. Palestinians refuse to relive 1948 as Trump suggests leaving Gaza when you're indigenous to the land. Amir Karaja told CNN he would rather eat the rubble than be forced to leave his homeland. We are steadfast here, Karaja told CNN on Wednesday, as he was working on what remained of his home in the Nusayrat camp in central Gaza. Just put the fries in the bag. Got it. Sure. Caroline Leavitt walks back Trump's statements on Gaza from yesterday. Dude, I can't, like, what is lasered into the back of my mind is the fucking smirk, okay? The insane, insidious smirk on Benjamin Netanyahu's face as Donald Trump talked about ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip. He just sat there and he just smiled. Just so awful. Insanely awful.
Plans for Gaza, any and all Palestinians who want to stay in Gaza on their land.
Like, dudes didn't leave their homes when they were getting bombed, man. Why would they ever leave during the rebuilding process, especially when so much of the Palestinian collective identity revolves around being displaced, you know?
Will be allowed to do so.
I can confirm that the president is committed to rebuilding Gaza and to temporarily relocating those who are there because, as I've showed you repeatedly, it is a demolition site. There is no running water. There is no electricity. The president wants these individuals to live in peace. He is committed to doing that with this very bold new plan, and we will continue to keep you apprised of updates as we receive them.
If we put boots on the ground, American troops will be killed by a strengthening insurgency dug into the rubble of Gaza and will rapidly become Iraq 2.0. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Oh. Shit's sad. Even Lindsey Graham is like, sir, I don't know about that. Yeah, this doesn't mean anything, man. Ask Senator Lindsey Graham about the President Trump's calls to remove Palestinians from Gaza, says he's been on the phone with Arabs all day and the approach will be quote unquote problematic. The idea of Americans going in on the ground in Gaza is a non-starter for every senator. It's great. Yeah. What are they going to do, man? It's also not a non-starter for every senator. There's one senator I can think of on the Democratic side that would love to be bipartisan. All I can say is I want to destroy Hamas, but I've been on the phone with Arabs all day. That approach, I think, will be very problematic. The idea of Americans going in and on the ground in Gaza is a non-starter for every senator. So I would suggest we go back to what we've been trying to do, destroy Hamas and find a way for the Arab world to take over Gaza and the West Bank in a fashion that would lead to a Palestinian state that Israel could live with. Fetterman already said he's down. Man, I was joking, dude. What the fuck? The only thing the Democrats can get together to do is just like more pain and cruelty for the Palestinians. They got no motion on anything else, dude. No motion whatsoever. Trump is just crippling the federal state, all of the regulatory bodies. Democrats are like, we're just going to wait until he fucks up on his own. Okay? The only fucking time they got any smoke is if, hold on. The only time they got any smoke whatsoever is when it's murder time.
Populations and
half months of war. But for Gazans, it is home, however hellish. And they want to rebuild here, not be forced to move elsewhere.
This is our country. If they want two states, fine. If not, we remain here. Where else would we go? We won't go anywhere. This is our land, the land of our ancestors. They are the ones who came from the other side of the world, bringing killing, destruction, and displacement.
We reject Trump's decisions and those of his aides and supporters who push for displacement. Why should we be forced into displacement? We remain here, even if it means living on the rubble of our homes. Better that than living in humiliation elsewhere.
Benjamin Netanyahu sat by Donald Trump last night, barely able to contain his own surprise, and with a hint of a smile.
Gaza is not a place for people to be living. And the only reason they want to go back, and I believe this strongly, is because they have no alternative. What's the alternative? Go where? There's no other alternative. If they had an alternative, they'd much rather not go back to Gaza and live in a beautiful alternative that's safe.
Trump's proposal has stunned the Middle East, and the Palestinian representative to the UK was defiant.
It took Israel that ethnic cleansing in 1948, the military occupation of 1967, the colonization and the theft of land, and the system of oppression and apartheid, and all the way to the genocide.
I guarantee this was part of the ceasefire deal. I mean, I told you that they had designs for at least doing a permanent military installation in northern Gaza, and that their designs for the West Bank was the permanent annexation. Like, that's it. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about the situation. I said it even after we talked about Donald Trump pushing for the ceasefire. I told you that there was probably going to be some additional things that the guy who got $100 million from Miriam Adelson was going to do.
Gaza, yet the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine, our people, did not leave their homes.
Netanyahu is still in Washington for a few more days. Back home, he has been under pressure from the extreme right to resume the war in Gaza. The US president's proposal has come at a perfect moment for him. It is a political lifeline for the Israeli prime minister.
I think that it is crucial today to consider and examine ideas that are out of the box. After all, Gaza is a failed experiment. It certainly failed under Hamas rule. Anyone with their eyes open understands that Gaza in its current state has no future.
The forced removal of Palestinians from Gaza would be ethnic cleansing. Trump has given no detail how it would work, and it has no backing from Western allies. And with negotiations just starting to extend the Gaza ceasefire, it is a very risky and possibly dangerous move. Alistair Bunkle, Sky News, in Jerusalem.
In the old bombed-out UN school in Jabalia, just north of Gaza City, there are still some classrooms intact. People whose homes have been destroyed moved in here last week when the Israelis allowed them back into northern Gaza. Mahfoud Hassan's room here has a nickname now, Orphan Class. Her two sons were killed during the war. She's surrounded by their children. Yesterday, Donald Trump called for down delicate routes again. This family traveled back to the north of the Strip and home. Last week, our team also met Afaf Salah on the road heading south to Khan Yunis, one of the hundreds of thousands on the move. She was heading there to reunite with her daughters.
It's just crazy that, like, every day there's a fresh hell. Every day. These images, and even far more gruesome images than this one, have been burned into the collective consciousness of so many, especially those who don't only consume mainstream outlets. Now, mainstream outlets are, 16 months late to the game, but finally covering it with some truth and dignity. Perhaps a little too late. And I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go, because I don't want to lose out on hope that all of this pressure won't amount to anything, and say that all of this pressure won't amount to anything. But, I am worried. You just can't give up. These people are not giving up, so you can't either. That's my point, okay? Their existence is resistance. Their existence is perseverance. We live in the lap of luxury in the Western world, in the heart of empire. If they can continue living and surviving in spite of the odds, then you can keep advocating for them as well.
Afaf arrives at where her daughter's sister and extended family are staying. A grandchild sees her first, then inside to her daughter.
لا حول ولا قوة الله يرحم اللي مات خلص جزاكم الله انا مشتاق لكم يما مشتاق يما صدق وانا اشوفك طول الحرب وانا
These family reunions have been a long time coming, and they're complicated, full of joy but delayed bereavement too. And these are the people Donald Trump says should leave Gaza. He is a real estate man, but what price, what specifications could an estate agent put on this home?
After the horrific October 7th attack on Israel, when about 1,200 people were killed and 250 others were taken hostage, Israel launched a war to destroy Hamas. Tens of thousands of people were killed in the process, and much of that territory is in ruins today. So yesterday, President Trump made this suggestion for what could happen next.
Oh, my God.
We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent. But more importantly than that is the people that have been absolutely destroyed that live there now can live in peace in a much better situation because they're living in hell.
Now, the plan would also involve relocating more than 2 million Palestinians. We're joined now by the president's national security advisor, that's Mike Waltz. Mr. Waltz, thank you so much for joining us. We're all looking forward to this conversation. We really appreciate you taking the time. So yesterday,
sure.
when the
Good to be with you. Thank you.
When the president made that announcement yesterday, ran that proposal, I'm told, I wasn't there, but I'm told that a lot of jaws dropped, that there was gasping in the room. And I guess my first question for you is, what right do we, the U.S., have to do this when you have 2 million Palestinians that say, listen, this is our home, we don't want to leave, we want to rebuild?
Like, considering that the overwhelming majority of liberals on at least social media apps saw this as yet another opportunity to fucking dunk on the genocided people's immediate family members living in the United States of America, despite the reality that like third-party voters could not have actually made up for Kamala Harris's issues. I don't know if liberals will look to the situation and go, even with all of their hatred of Donald Trump, I don't know if liberals will look to this issue and go, okay, maybe we are the bad guys. Like, this should be a wake-up moment. This doesn't even feel like real life anymore. I can't believe the things that are happening. Again, these absolutely smug, nasty people who had nothing to say when Biden and Harris were slaughtering, starving, and displacing Palestinians for 15 months. No snarky comment then. Imagine shitting on voters who lost their families to genocide. This is an NBC News reporter. Trump wins Dearborn. Dearborn Heights amid fury over Gaza-Lebanon wars. Trump proposes permanent displacement of Gazans as he welcomes Netanyahu to the White House. This is Sahil Kapoor, NBC News senior national political reporter. Like, I know that lesser evil voting is in theory correct, but in practice leads to liberals basically engaging in the most insane equations. But how is now the lesser evil voting argument that's taking place, whether it is better to just kill every single Palestinian with bombs right now, as it took place under the Biden administration, or whether it's better to forcibly remove them from this land at gunpoint off into camps elsewhere. Like, that's what the lesser evil dynamic has turned into for a lot of people. And I genuinely don't understand how evil people can be. He had wife on stream where she said, I hope Hasan is happy with Trump now. They should name a street in Gaza after him. It's all a game to them. Yeah, I don't think they care about Palestinians. I'm going to be very real, okay? That's such a gross fucking statement, especially considering that I, once again, warned people over and over again that it's not like Donald Trump was going to be better, and even debated people on this issue, both from my community and also even prominent Trump boosters. It's insane. The only significant aspect of Donald Trump's ceasefire was that he had the ability to do it. And it wasn't just Trump that had the ability to do it by way of Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff is not a brilliant foreign policy advisor. He's a fucking golf buddy of Donald Trump's who does real estate. That's how much power and influence America has over Israel. It wasn't because Benjamin Netanyahu was like, oh yeah, I'll do this because you're going to let me permanently annex Gaza. Okay? After all, he could have just kept the bombing going and then permanently annexed Gaza without a ceasefire whatsoever. The point here is that America has always held all the cards. You really seem to like the sound of your own voice. I am a professional political commentator by trade. This is... God, you're such a cornball. How can you take yourself seriously in that turtleneck? Your opinions are worthless. Your small percentage of stands that follow what you say don't matter in the real world. You are a fucking cornflake, Hasan. Your views are so out of touch with reality. It is scary. I feel bad for everybody that listens to this puke. Lol, professional. It seems like you're very mad, but I don't know if you're just mad about me or if you're mad about something that's going on in your own personal life that you're so upset over my sartorial choices. I hope you get better, though. Like, yes, I'm familiar with no other land. The people deserve to be mad at you. What the fuck? You had big influence and chose to go against Kamala. You made people vote for Jill Stein. You kept shitting on Kamala. I like that the new talking points have been ordered by the people. Let's see. This is from a fan channel from November 4th, 2024. Okay. The stream is from November 4th, 2024. But I have echoed this sentiment numerous times. Why you should not vote for Jill Stein, and especially not for Donald Trump. Now that you've actually seen that that was my take, will you reconsider? Will you watch? Will you understand that you were duped? Will you maybe get mad at the person who duped you? Or will you continue on your conquest? It is legitimately ridiculous that you just rally every 4 years instead of campaigning all of the other times when you should be campaigning. And yes, I do think that she is a grifter. That's it. That's how I feel about it. That's why I don't usually talk about it. It's fine if you want to vote for her. You know, she went to the Palestine protest. It was like one of the few instances where she actually was like even before this election cycle. DSA and working. Oh my God. Why isn't it loading? Families have done more for people than Green Party done in their entire history besides take money away. But yeah, like there are places, if you are very serious about like, I'm losing my mind. Anyway, you can go watch the video on your own time if you want to. Building a resilient movement as a third party. That person's comment earlier was pure cinema. What? This is quite literally your fault, Hasan. You shout on Kamala any chance you got and influenced a generation of voters, and they went to Jill Stein. You have blood on your hands. I hope you get your karma. I think they do sit around and wait and lurk in the corners in the shadows. Oh, this person is just doing the copy pasta over and over again. I thought they were being serious. No, that person is repeating Lucario Times message. The people deserve to be mad at you. What's really weird about it is like, my views on this stuff are not sheltered or hidden. It's pretty, it's, you know, out there in the open for those who choose to seek it out. Like, it's not something that I hide, you know, it's something that I have talked about quite a bit. So if you're coming from, you know, if you're coming from a particular community that has like told you, that has mischaracterized my position, and then I tell you like with evidence that that is not the case, does that make you reconsider your allegiances? Do you maybe feel like you might have been misguided? Or are you simply angry in this instance and looking for an appropriate vector to let out your anger, and you have found me to be that appropriate vector, even if you are misguided? I literally remember you getting your ass eaten on Twitter for saying Jill Stein's a grifter, Lamau simply unwinnable. Yeah, it's particularly funny since if you actually had those views and beliefs people say you have, people wouldn't go after you so much. I don't get it. I especially don't get it because time and time again I maintained the dangers of Donald Trump winning the election, which is precisely the reason why I wanted Kamala Harris to actually get her shit together and run a good campaign. She failed to do so. And not only that, but the Democrats have completely given up on trying to obstruct the current process. I was annoyed at your commentary on it because I didn't find it particularly helpful, but it's not incorrect, and you're not a you are a political commentator, not a party lackey. Yeah, there are plenty of people in here who disagreed with me at the time, who were very upset. There were a lot of people in my community that were very upset, that thought, like, you don't understand, Kamala Harris is actually great. She's going to be great for Palestinians. Like, they tried to outflank the Democrats over and over again. They tried to outflank the Democrats over and over again and try to make arguments that the Democrats themselves were not presenting. And I kept repeating to them, if Kamala Harris does not actually come out with these messages that you're claiming she's coming out with in this chat, she's going to lose. And lo and behold, that's what happened. And I think plenty of people understood that. Plenty of people in this community understood that. They were like, all right, you know what? I didn't agree with you at the time, but I admit that you were right. Remember that TikTok before the election? Perfect run. What are you saying? And they still believe that. I just don't understand what people foresee. But let's not act like you would have been in the moral wrong if you had actually shot on Harris and praised Stein. No, I think Jill Stein is not like a competent nor serious political actor. It wasn't because I wanted to subtly defend Kamala Harris. It's just my opinion. Most Americans support Israel, so she couldn't be saying she supports Palestinians. This is not correct either. This is just not correct. There were numerous studies, numerous polls that were conducted throughout this entire process. The overwhelming majority of Americans wanted a ceasefire. The overwhelming majority of Democrats wanted it, more than 80%. More than 70% of independents wanted it. And even more than 50%, the majority of Republicans wanted a ceasefire. Okay? There were plenty of polls that also showed that the weapons embargo would help Kamala Harris win. But Gaza is not the singular reason why she lost. It was majorly consequential, especially in a state like Michigan. Okay? But what's more important to understand here is that this inability to read the room, or deliberately refusing to read the room, is at the heart of the Democratic Party's problems with the electoral performance. Even when people were ringing the alarm bells as best as they could with mass mobilization protests, they just turned a blind eye to it because they were beholden to their donors. Okay? They're completely shut off from the wishes and the demands of their base of support. So it's not just Gaza. This very same principle exists for a number of different issues, whether it be healthcare, okay? Whether it be price controls. You always said Kamala's loss will mostly be on her inability to break from Biden and her closeness to Republicans by associating with Cheney and the right-wing border bill. Yes, absolutely. It's crazy how everyone is spamming and shitting on liberals right now. This was genuinely the one space we had. You guys are no better than the MAGA tards. People are about to get ethnic cleanse, and the reaction all you gave is Dem's fault. Biden tried everything he could to save Palestine. No, that's not true. Biden did not try everything he could to save Palestine. You're just objectively wrong. Okay? I'm sorry. You're just wrong. Biden is the reason why Gaza looks the way it does, because all it would have taken for Biden to stop this was one singular phone call and a weapons embargo. He did not want to do it. It was such an easy thing to do that Donald Trump was able to do it without even going into the office. Okay? Donald Trump did this before he assumed the role of president by sending an envoy as his representative that was a fucking real estate developer who plays golf with him. Okay? If you are a progressive person, truly, on the issues, and not simply substituting progressivism by saying you unconditionally defend the Democratic Party, because many people, I think, mistake that, okay? Then you should be able to comprehend what I'm saying here, okay? Especially if you think I am your enemy, okay? And to be fair, if you do think that, like, Biden did everything he can to save the Palestinians by, what, dropping like 5 nuclear bombs worth of munitions on top of the captive civilian population of Gaza. If you think that that was doing everything you can, then maybe we're not aligned. But if you truly are a progressive person and you think in this moment, this community that will always defend trans people, women's rights, and all marginalized people, and criticize American foreign policy if American foreign policy is responsible for the death and destruction of civilian populations globally. If you think that this community is your enemy and not the much larger, much louder right-wing content creators, I don't know what to tell you. This entire space online is dominated by the right. Completely dominated by the right. So when people say, like, Hasan has no dissent, Hasan has no competition or dissenting opinions on Twitch, you're delusional. You're just wrong. Asmongold is the largest political content creator on this platform. It's not me. It's Asmongold. He is currently the largest political commentator on the platform, and he's right-wing. In the field, don't project or try to indoctrinate. This is not a projection. This is just a mere statement of facts. Okay? There were a lot of people that tried to get me deplatformed right before the election. Okay? I'm going to unban this person. There were a lot of people that tried to get me deplatformed right before the election. And they specifically did it because, you know, they had some petty grievances that their content creators had with me that they wanted to, you know, get a good dunk on. I'm talking about the sex pastini community. And what's really interesting about this is that in spite of that, even though Twitch did actually respond by blacklisting my stream, there was still 314,000 people in here watching on the night of the election coverage with 7.5 million viewers over the VOD. And we looked at the numbers, and in the top 10 live streamers on election day coverage, I was the only person, I was the only progressive voice in the top 10. Really reconsider if I'm your enemy, or if someone has basically tried to present things completely out of context to make you feel like I'm your enemy. Anyway, now let's get back to this fresh hell.
We love where we live, and we want to stay here. What right does the U.S. have to do this?
Well, I think anyone asking that question, frankly, doesn't have a realistic view of the...
What's up with Sex Pestiny fans saying your company about the Philip DeFranco? What company?
The plight of the Palestinian people in Gaza. I mean, you have literally nearly 2 million people living in a place that has thousands and thousands of unexploded ordnance and bombs. It's in some places like a minefield. You have buildings that are collapsing and unsafe. You have no sewage, no running water. It has become completely unlivable with this war that Hamas started on October 7th. And I, as a veteran, can tell you it is despicable and sad that groups like Hamas, Al-Qaeda, ISIS literally sacrifice the lives and the livelihoods of their own people to achieve some type of ideological gain. But I think what the...
Yeah. That's what they're doing. They're sacrificing the lives of their people in the way of American munitions that Israel is dropping on them.
President is just acknowledging, as we've been looking at this over the last weeks and months, and frankly, he's been thinking about it since October 7th, and that war is, you know, everybody's heart breaks for the Palestinian people across the region, and rightly so, but he's not seeing any realistic solutions on how those miles and miles and miles of debris are going to be cleared, how those, you know, essentially unexploded bombs are going to be removed, how these people are physically going to live for the at least a decade, if not longer, it's going to take to do this. So the fact that nobody has a realistic solution, and he puts some very bold, fresh, new ideas out on the table, I don't think should be criticized in any way. I think it's going to bring the entire region to come with their own solutions if they don't like Mr. Trump's solution. So that's what we saw, and I think that is just living in the common sense, practical reality of this awful situation that's going on in Gaza and has been going on for quite some time.
We all agree that it's a terrible, awful situation, but Colonel, and I know you're.
But I don't hear a lot of solutions. No, I hear a lot of.
But how about this?
This is awful. This is terrible.
Yeah, there's only one final solution, according to these guys. You know, it's the best solution, the final solution. Don't you like that? There is a finality to it. Come on, guys. I don't understand. Yeah, if you were serious about rebuilding Gaza and leaving it to the Palestinians, you would move the Palestinians into Israel proper. Okay, that's it. Not push them into the fucking Sinai Peninsula so they can live in a concentration camp in the desert controlled by an American vassal state.
You know, the fight, and it is, and we fully agree it is, but I don't hear a lot of solutions.
Here's my question. Sure. Why not help them rebuild as opposed to taking it over and making it the Riviera of the Middle East? Saying we're going to get rid of Hamas, we're going to help you get rid of Hamas, and we're going to help you rebuild, as opposed to get out of your land and we're going to take it over and it's going to become a Riviera of the Middle East, which sounds like a profit-based business.
Well, look, I mean, again, it's just back to the kind of common sense of it. When you have 2 million people living on what has become miles of rubble that's completely unlivable, to say we're going to rebuild with them sitting there, I think is incredible. Just again, the reality of it is incredibly difficult. But back to your point on Hamas, and this is where we have a shared vision and we have shared objectives with the Israeli government. Hamas cannot stay there. We would not allow ISIS to continue to attack us on our border. We would not allow another 9/11s. The Israeli government and people deserve to never have another October 7th. But what is the Hamas leadership saying right now as we speak? That if they're allowed to survive more October 7th, more attacks, raping, burning, and killing of the Israeli people will happen again. So they cannot continue to exist, and we're going to support the Israeli government as they defend themselves.
Mr. Waltz, Colonel Waltz, the Israelis are certainly very happy. Benjamin Netanyahu is very happy to have the U.S. support. They're looking for that. But how, from an American perspective, does this make Americans safer? The first concern people will have is, well, there's terrorism there. Is there now going to be terrorism here because we're so mixed up in this?
Well, it's the same. I mean, I think it's the same strategy and thinking of why we still have forces going after ISIS all over the world. We still have allies and partners helping us with al-Qaeda. The president just authorized on Saturday a strike to a major ISIS financier, recruiter, and leader in the caves in northern Somalia that, frankly, our military had been trying to take out for well over a year and couldn't get the approvals.
Yeah, of course, Tony Double Circ came in hot. Like, sir, this guy's supposed to be a liberal. Sir, what do you think about the blowback and the potential for terrorism in America? Also, sir, what do you think about like the scariness of Hamas existing in this area still continuously? Don't you think that we should finish the job? Don't you think that we should keep doing permanent genocide?
Forces going after ISIS all over the world. We still have allies and partners helping us with al-Qaeda. The president just authorized on Saturday a strike to a major ISIS financier, recruiter, and leader in the caves in northern Somalia that, frankly, our military have been trying to take out for well over a year and couldn't get the approvals from the previous White House. So I think what you're asking is, why do we support our allies and partners in counterterrorism with a group that is literally promising to conduct future October 7th, which was the 9/11 for Israel of their time? So absolutely, we're going to continue to help. And when we have terrorism defeated and degraded abroad, it helps the homeland here.
I hear you there, Mr. Waltz. The broader war on terror, that makes sense. Circling back to what Gail was talking about, you know, for generations now, American policy has been in support of a two-state solution there, stability in the Middle East. There'll be Israel, and then there'll be a future Palestinian state. Yesterday's comments seem to mean the end of that policy. I just want to clarify, is it the end of the two-state policy? And is it a denial for the future by this government of the wish, the dream of Palestinian?
It is pretty crazy because I thought the exit ramp for the Democrats would have always been liberal Zionism, which they didn't even revert to at all. And then they lost. And now it's just like straight up ultra Zionism is the position. Now, liberal Zionism and ultra Zionism still obviously has aesthetic differences, but ultimately it still wants a timeline where the Palestinian state is completely and utterly eradicated. Okay? Much like the Democrats who openly say, oh, well, you know, you voted for Trump, you get what you deserve. I'm calling my neighbors, I'm calling ICE on my neighbors who have undocumented immigrants who voted for Trump and their immediate family members that are undocumented. Liberals basically want to maintain the moral high ground while simultaneously enjoying the cruelty that Donald Trump is presenting. Because if you truly had a moral position on the matter of deportations being unjustifiable and cruel and unique methods of punishment for people who actually didn't really do any serious crimes whatsoever and are simply existing in American society and producing and you know, giving significantly more into our tax structure than they actually end up taking out. If you're not remotely interested in the morality of deportations and simply care about partisanship and team sports on the basis of your team winning and the other team losing because you owned the Republicans, then you are, by my standards at least, not that different than Republicans. I mean, maybe you're gay or you know, have immediate queer family members and you're scared, and that's why you wanted the Democrats to win, even though they made really no assurances that they would defend trans people, and as a matter of fact, very quickly turned around and threw trans people under the bus, or even threw trans people under the bus during the election cycle. And maybe that's like your marginal difference or disagreement with the Trump side. But overall, pure partisanship for the sake of partisanship alone is idiotic, is an idiotic way to do politics in general. Politics is supposed to be about extracting concessions from your elected representatives. If the Democratic Party is closer in ideology to the way you see the world, you're supposed to go to them and demand things from them in exchange for your vote, not vice versa, right? It's not the other way around. Votes are earned. They are not entitled to your votes. And no matter how much people do harm reduction arguments, and plenty did, and the harm reduction conversation is in theory correct, right? Because marginal differences between either party still yield, at least put a stay of execution on many people's lives. If it's the Democratic Party pushing for the same agenda 4 years later, that still means that for the next 4 years, that stay of execution holds, right? But that's not how people vote. That's not how people operate. Even the dumbest still understands, even the dumbest voter in America still understands, like, well, okay, I want some things. I want some things from my representatives. Okay? Even the dumbest person, even the dumbest American voter is still self-interested. Okay? And it demonstrably failed again. Harm reduction arguments with Hillary Clinton failed. And harm reduction arguments with Kamala Harris also failed. And Donald Trump became president again. This time after doing January 6th and being president for 4 years. Okay? So I don't understand why people are so open about their disdain, open about their their lack of interest in the humanity of people that were victim to the Biden administration's cruel measures, you know? CNN had Democrats on like a week after the election saying the Democrats have gone too woke. It's fucking ridiculous. Here, I'll tell you another thing that I think tells me at least that people are still looking for some form of obstructionist and resistance against this administration, no matter how hopeless people feel. Okay? Wired Magazine did an article. Wired Magazine did an article exposing the Doge people that Elon Musk had hired. These are, you know, servants of the public working for the federal government that are going to have access to all of your data. These are profoundly important individuals, and unmasking who they are is definitely for the public good. The notion that these guys should remain hidden and anonymous is ridiculous. But the broader point that I want to make here is that at a time when New York Times is losing subscriptions, that at a time when the Washington Post has unironically lost basically became a tenth of their previous circulation, going from 21 million subscribers to 3 million. When the Wired magazine came out with that investigative reporting piece, you know what they noticed? A shit ton of subscriptions. 10 times more subscriptions than they had in that same time frame previously. That to me shows that there is still interest in the public for good journalism. Okay? That means that there is still a lot of appetite for people to say, this is wrong. Can someone please confirm my suspicion? Because it feels like this is very wrong. Okay? So there are still a lot of people out there who are looking for answers, who are looking for someone to guide them. They just don't know where to go. So especially at a time like this, when people are just trying to fight amongst others instead of fighting against the Trump administration, at a time of unity and solidarity where protecting your neighbors are going to be more important than ever before. And I say this as someone who is not an anarchist. I say this as someone who has never been a major fan of like decentralized resistance movements at all. As a matter of fact, I spent most of my career criticizing this stuff. Okay? I recognize that, you know, this might be the only thing we have, at least for the time being. Isn't it kind of easy to see why people are mad at their neighbors? They're fucking mad. They spent years defending illegal immigrants only for a large sum to help them vote for Trump. They feel betrayed. What do you mean? That's not allyship in that sort is not transactional. First of all, undocumented migrants can't vote. That's number one. And even if here's what you guys don't understand. This is a fundamental principle that I have, and I hope you guys get this, and I hope you abide by the standard as well. Okay? You do not advocate for other people's well-being because it's transactional. You do it because it's right. Okay? You do it because you want to improve everyone's lives. Isn't it kind of easy to see why people are mad at their neighbors? They're fucking mad. They spent years defending illegal immigrants only for a large sum of them to vote for Trump. They feel betrayed. It's purely emotional. I disagree with them, but I know why they're doing it. No, it's ridiculous. Okay? That statement, not what you're saying, but that belief is ridiculous. It's ridiculous because why are you defending in your hypothetical liberal argument that you're making? Why are these liberals defending illegal immigrants then? Is it simply so that, you know, they feel good? Is that what the reason is? But don't you think that's why they're doing it? Yeah, no, I understand that that's why they're doing it. And I'm saying that that is fundamentally flawed. That's fundamentally flawed thinking. It's reactionary thinking. Okay? That's my point. And obviously, undocumented immigrants can't vote anyway. But even if their immediate family members did vote for Donald Trump, it is ridiculous to say, okay, well then, fuck them. Does that not make sense? Especially because it betrays the argument that you would be presenting in that situation where it's like, well, I defended you for years. Why did you still go and vote for this person? And it's like, if you defended them for years because of an interest in helping these people, then why would you cast them aside when they've made the wrong choice in this circumstance and brought about their own cruelty? What you're supposed to do is still, okay? What you are supposed to do is still unconditionally try and protect as many people as you possibly can. Not go, fuck it. Does that not make sense? Democrats are simply nothing but a name, and so are Republicans. Okay? They're a collection of values that they demonstrate and a legislative agenda that they follow. It's the policies that matter, not the name of the party. Okay? All of the history of the party is supposed to help you comprehend what the direction of the party is and what their policies are going to look like and whether they're willing and able to follow through on an agenda that they promise. Okay? If in a hypothetical scenario, in an alternative universe, the Republican Party was the pro-immigration party and the Democrats were the anti-immigration party, I'd be voting for the Republican Party. It's that simple because it's just a name, okay? The reason why I hate the Republican Party and the reason why I even hate the way that the Democratic Party operates and how they present themselves is because of their closeness to the Republican Party. And the reason why I hate the Republican Party is because of the policies and the agenda that they present and follow through on. That's it. It's that simple. It has nothing to do with the aesthetics. It has nothing to do with anything but what they are doing. Okay? Because this is not about team sports. This is not about transactional allegiances where, you know, I went out there and I actually protested with BLM. Why is BLM not pro-Israel? Like, that's what pro-Israel people say. They'll be like, oh, well, we did this thing. We went out and did BLM. Why don't you care about Israel doing a genocide? Like, that's ridiculous, right? I mean, what did y'all expect? Over the last 8 years, progressives have alienated and pushed vast amounts of young, predominantly white men towards the arms of conservatives. They're angry about a great many things, and conservatives have given them a tangible, visible target for that hate. I mean, I don't think this is progressives and leftists in general. I think you are looking at liberal institutions in general and how they communicate, and you're looking at liberals in general and what they care about, and then saying this is the entirety of the left. My community is mostly comprised of white men, chatter. What the fuck are you talking about? You're literally in it. And this is the most visibly leftist community online. And people, by the way, those very same people still yell at me all the fucking time. But because there are a lot of key issues that I agree with those radfems on, for example, or radlibs on, for example, I don't mind if they fucking call me like a misogynistic piece of shit, okay? Because at the end of the day, I still understand. I still welcome you, okay? You might have disagreements with me. You might think that I am doing the wrong thing or whatever. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, are you going to defend your neighbors? Are you going to defend people that you don't know, that and in spite of not knowing them at all, you understand that there needs to be an expression of solidarity. There needs to be a collective understanding that these people have the same exact class interests as you. Are you going to be able to show empathy to those who have wronged you? I will. It does not matter what their political ideology is, as long as they recognize right from wrong, as long as they understand that we must do right by others and choose to fight that fight, I will be there by your side. That's it. That is what is important. And that is what is necessary right now more than ever, because our institutions have failed us and they're collapsing in real time. And they're not even necessarily collapsing necessarily. They're being destroyed in real time. They're being picked apart for scraps in real time, in broad daylight. Okay? It's a highway robbery. And you're just sitting there and you're watching it every day. And the Democratic Party that is supposed to be the counterbalance to this kind of reactionary movement, this kind of reactionary profiteering and endless bloodshed, is woefully incompetent. They are not up to the task. So it's up to all of you to do what's right in this moment. It's up to all of us, okay?
Nationhood?
I don't think, certainly didn't hear the president say it was the end of the two-state solution. You have the Palestinian Authority, you have the West Bank, and when he was asked directly who is going to live there in the future, he said the Palestinians and perhaps many others. I mean, those are the...
I disagree with a metric shit ton of what you say, especially by showing empathy to the opposition, but I still recognize the fact that you're biased. And though, in my opinion, wrong on your way of trying to make a difference, I do acknowledge the fact that you're a liberal reactionary who has my same goals in mind with just different ways to get to the solution. A liberal reactionary.
Conversations that we're having, the president has talked to President Sisi of Egypt. He's talked to Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of...
Every liberal on the internet currently is screaming about how much of a radical terrorist lover I am for being pro-Palestine uncompromisingly. And there's still people in here that are like, well, you are a reactionary liberal. No, liberals are reactionary in many instances. That person is just like that person is max left, okay?
Saudi Arabia. He has spoken, of course, to King Abdullah, who's coming here next week. We have Prime Minister Netanyahu here now. So the president is engaging with our key allies in the region and asking for their input, asking for their ideas, and is personally engaged on this issue.
Colonel Waltz, last question and we'll let you go. Does it matter that the Palestinian people may not want this? They want their land and they do not want to move. Does it matter to President Trump? Does it matter to this administration?
Oh, well, of course it does. But, you know,
that's the difference in logistics. It does, because if they don't want to leave, then we're going to have to apply more pressure. It's about how many guns we use in the process of ethnic cleansing and mass displacement. Do you understand?
I think one of the key points President Trump made last night was, tell me what real better alternatives they've ever been offered. If you're literally on the brink of starvation, if you can't get clean water, you have no sewage, your home...
Bro, these people were not allowed to leave when they were being bombed, okay? These people were not allowed to leave when they were being bombed. So it wasn't dangerous enough when it was raining munitions on them, but it's dangerous in the rebuilding process? Give me a fucking break. It's just bullshit.
What's left of it is about to collapse on your family, and you're offered some type of viable solution to live in peace and have a better future, to not have bombs and bullets flying, to not have Hamas, you know, lining the windows. And
yeah, this is a joke, but this basically is a summarization of a lot of what liberals are saying right now. Like, way to go, leftists. Now Trump's going to level this place, you know?
Walls with human shields on Israeli soldiers.
How about negotiating peace and then building on their own land?
A better... Well, that's absolutely... The president's Middle East envoy, despite a lot of people saying it couldn't be done, actually helped negotiate, the previous administration negotiate the current ceasefire that we're in. And those negotiations are ongoing, and we have hostages being reunited to tears of joy all over Israel. So let's not forget that we literally have murals of President Trump hanging in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem right now, thanking him for the live hostages that are coming out.
Mr. Waltz, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
For me, I didn't really saw that as like a super serious kind of a situation.
Great. The smartest guy is up to the task. The #1 advocate